Hey everyone, welcome to Movie Summaries. Today we're summarizing a 2016 horror and thriller movie called The Autopsy of Jane Doe. Before we get started, a couple of fair warnings for y'all. Don't be eating any chicken parm, meatballs, your favorite meat dish, or anything in general while watching this. Trust me. Also, there are definitely spoilers in this summary. Enjoy, and be sure to subscribe to watch more videos weekly, and hit like. The movie begins with cops examining a crime scene in a home belonging to Paul Douglas and Carol Douglas in Grantham, Virginia. Paul, Carol, and a contract worker, Alvarez, have been brutally murdered in the Douglas home, and the police have also found the body of an unidentified young woman, partially buried in the basement. Sheriff Burke names the woman Jane Doe. After investigating the crime scene, the police don't find alien fingerprints or any sign of forced entry. The condition of Paul and Carol's dead bodies makes Lieutenant Wade speculate that Paul and Carol were trying to escape their home, but strangely, there aren't any marks or wounds on Jane's body. The movie then cuts to the home of a local coroner named Tommy Tilden. Tommy runs a morgue out of his basement with his son, Austin Tilden. The basement is the state of the facility and has two exits, a stepladder that leads to the garden, and a lift. Tommy specializes in finding the cause of death of horrifically disfigured bodies. Tommy and Austin are currently working on the body of a man named Howard Otis, whose body has been severely burned and is beyond recognizable. After external and internal examination, Tommy asks his son Austin to predict the cause of Howard's death. Looking at the damaged nasal passage, damaged throat, and damaged lungs, Austin speculates that Howard died of smoke inhalation. Tommy reminds them that damaged lungs doesn't necessarily mean someone died of smoke inhalation. Howard was found dead in his kitchen, with his house on fire, and his front door was 30 feet away. Yet, he didn't try to get there. Tommy says that Howard's lungs are damaged, but the airway is not denuded enough, which means that Howard stopped breathing before the fire really got going. Tommy then makes Austin open Howard's brain and shows him a fracture below the occipital. This means that Howard died of subdural hematoma, a buildup of blood on the surface of the brain. Tommy preaches that every body has a secret. Some just hide it better than others. Amen. Austin gets demoralized and says that some people are better at finding them than others. Tommy assures his son that he is good, and he will get better. Austin then gets a massage from his girlfriend, Emma Roberts. They have plans to watch a movie after work. This reminds Tommy of the last time he went to see a movie with Austin's mother. He fondly remembers that he fell asleep 5 minutes in. Before leaving, Tommy asks Austin to put Howard's body back in the freezer. As he labels the freezer, Tommy's cat, Stanley, appears from the air vent with a dead rat. After dumping the rat, Austin suddenly hears strange noises coming from outside. He investigates the other rooms in the morgue, but doesn't find anything suspicious. As he proceeds to leave, Emma grabs him from behind, giving him a good scare. He tries to recover his breath, as Emma breaks into laughter. Emma then takes a tour of the facility and asks Austin to show her dead body. Austin tries to talk her out of it, but she insists. Tommy then shows up and asks Emma to pick one freezer. It contains the body of a woman named Irene Daniels. Irene's eyes and mouth have been stitched together. Emma then insists on seeing another body. She is acting like a child in a toy shop. It is Louis Tanis. A bell has been tied to Louis's ankles. Tommy explains that coroners in the past used to tie bells to bodies to ensure that they were dead, not comatose. So, as a traditionalist, Tommy does the same. Emma asks Tommy why Louis's face has been covered, to which he responds that there is not much face left. When Emma proceeds to remove the cover, Austin rings the bell and scares the shit out of her. Poor girl finally drops her stubbornness. Later, as Emma and Austin proceed to leave the facility, Sheriff Burke brings in the body of Jane Doe. Seeing Burke bring in the body so late at night, Austin feels it's something urgent and starts to have second thoughts about the movie. Austin has a history of ditching his plans with Emma to work with his father. Although Austin wants to leave his family profession and move to the city, he can't bring himself to tell his father, who lost his wife 2 years ago. Emma is upset with Austin, but he cheers her up and promises to make up for it later. He asks her to come back at 11 o'clock for the movie. The sheriff catches Tommy up to speed about the strange circumstances Jane's body was found in. He speculates that Alvarez killed her and was trying to hide her body in Paul's home, but the Douglas couple caught up to him, which led to the bloodbath. Austin and Tommy argued that they need to take a look at the crime scene before proceeding with their job, but Burke tells him that he needs the cause of death by tomorrow morning because of the pressure from the media. The father and son eventually agree to do the autopsy. Without visiting the crime scene, they play loud music on the radio and begin the autopsy of Jane Doe. It involves multiple stages: external evaluation, internal evaluation of the heart, lungs, digestive organs, and the brain. Austin notices that Jane's eyes have been clouded, which only happens if someone has been dead for several days. That's in contrast to the condition of Jane's body, which suggests that the death had just occurred. Jane's waist is also unusually smaller than her frame, which may or may not be congenital. Austin writes the findings on the board, while Tommy investigates her joints. Although there are no external marks, Jane's wrists and ankles are fractured. Jane also has traces of peat in her nails and hair, indicating she was buried in it. This puzzles Tommy, as peat is only found in northern parts of the US, while Virginia is in the south. Austin checks Jane's mouth, and to his astonishment, he learns that Jane's tongue has been crudely severed. Tommy recalls seeing something similar some years ago, in which human traffickers were involved. As Tommy begins to further investigate her mouth, a fly pops out of her nose, which then starts to bleed. Tommy learns that Jane is missing a molar tooth and has a thread inside her mouth. As Tommy starts a vaginal examination, it begins to rain outside, with loud thunder. There are signs of deliberate vaginal trauma. Tommy and Austin then proceed with the internal examination, starting with the heart and lung. As Tommy proceeds to tear Jane's body open, a woman is momentarily heard screaming on the radio, before it changes station spontaneously, settling on the song, "Open Up Your Heart and Let the Sun Shine In." Austin changes the channel, and Tommy continues with the autopsy. As soon as Tommy cuts her chest open, Jane starts bleeding freely, as if she is still alive. Austin then notices that all the specimens that they have collected in the refrigerator are leaking. He clears the mess, and his father breaks Jane's ribs open. They learn that Jane's lungs have been severely blackened. Tommy says that even if someone smokes 10 packs every day for 30 years, their lungs still wouldn't look as black as Jane's. What's even more strange is that there's no sign of burns on Jane's body, even with this amount of lung damage. It is like finding a bullet in the brain, but with no gunshot wound. Tommy then pulls her heart out and notices that it's marked up, almost as if it was cut. Not only her heart, Jane's lungs are also marked up as well. As the two ponder how someone can sustain so much internal trauma without any external signs, it starts raining outside with more intensity and much louder thunder. Tommy speculates that someone wanted to make Jane Doe suffer. That is why they went through such great lengths. Suddenly, they hear a loud bang outside, forcing Austin to venture out and investigate. While looking through different rooms, Austin notices a figure in the blind spot mirror. However, when he further inspects, Austin doesn't see anyone. In the lab, Tommy accidentally cuts his wrist on a bone. Meanwhile, Austin ventures into a dark storeroom. After hearing noises coming from the vent, he uses the tool to get to the vent, but suddenly, something pops up before his eyes, and he gets spooked, losing his balance and falling down in the process. As he gets up, Austin notices a dark figure at the door, but fortunately, it is just Tommy. Austin tells him about the noise, and Tommy hands him a flashlight to investigate the vent. To his horror, Austin finds Tommy's cat, Stanley, fatally wounded in the vent. Seeing Stanley in great pain, Tommy breaks its neck and puts it out of its misery. They then cremate the deceased cat. Tommy is deeply upset about Stanley's passing. It was one of the few things of his wife he had left. When Tommy and Austin return to the lab, Austin finds one of the drawers where the bodies are kept open. After closing the drawer, the duo begin the next stage of the autopsy, inspection of the stomach and gastrointestinal system. To their astonishment, Tommy finds a flower called the Jimson weed in Jane's stomach. Jimson weed acts as a paralyzing agent and is not native to the area. This explains the inflammation of Jane's organs. It is also confirmed that Jane is from the northeast of the US. The radio reports that the rain is set to reach 3 inches within the hour. Austin suggests that they should leave the rest for tomorrow, but Tommy responds that when he starts something, he always finishes it. Tommy gives Austin an option to leave, but he declines the offer. As the autopsy continues, Tommy finds a missing tooth wrapped in a piece of cloth in her stomach. The cloth seems old and has Roman numerals, letters, and an odd diagram. The thread that Austin found earlier in Jane's mouth matches that of the fabric, and the tooth belongs to Jane herself. It turns out someone pulled out her teeth, wrapped it in fabric, and forced her to swallow it. Austin suspects that Jane was possibly sacrificed by some cult. Austin insists on finding out why Jane was tortured and sacrificed, but Tommy tells him that it is none of their business. As Tommy gets occupied with the autopsy again, the radio warns Austin that he is not going anywhere, before changing stations again and playing the song, "Open Your Heart Up and Let the Sun Shine In." Austin again tells his dad that they should get out of here, but Tommy is busy peeling Jane's skin. Tommy makes another discovery. He finds symbols, similar to the ones found in the cloth under Jane's skin. Suddenly, the drawers containing the dead bodies opens by itself, and the lights in the room explode. Here we go. Austin uses his phone for light in the dark room and notices that all the corpses except Jane's have gone missing. Freaked out, Tommy and Austin decide to leave. Eventually, the power is restored when the generator starts working. However, they are not able to leave the facility as the elevator is no longer working and the exit door has been blocked by a fallen tree. Austin's phone doesn't have any signal, so they head to the basement office to call Burke through the landline. The call goes through, but the telephone dies halfway through the call. They then hear someone's footsteps outside, and Austin notices that it is Lewis, the corpse with a belt tied to its ankles. Yup, that can't be good. Lewis then attempts to break into the office, but Tommy and Austin quickly barricade the door with furniture. The banging eventually stops, and Austin speculates that it is Jane's doing. Everything was fine until they cut into her. Tommy dismisses the suggestion and goes to the bathroom to wash his bleeding wrist. As Austin goes on about Jane, some unseen figure locks Tommy in the bathroom and bruises him. Panicking, Austin knocks down the washroom door and saves Tommy. The unseen figure then removes the barricading on the main door and swiftly leaves. Tommy finally believes that this is some supernatural shit. They return to the lab and learn that all the organs they took out of Jane are rapidly decomposing. It is almost like Jane's body was preserving them. Tommy decides to cremate Jane's body. Suddenly, the lab door gets closed and locked by itself. Panicking, Austin grabs an axe and tries to break down the door, but is eventually forced to stop when he notices Irene, the corpse with her eyes and mouth stitched, outside. Fed up, they pour fuel all over Jane's body and light her on fire. However, the fire spreads throughout the lab, and Tommy is forced to put it out with an extinguisher. To their astonishment, Jane's body has not burned 1 square inch. The elevator suddenly turns back on, and the duo try to escape. However, the elevator door gets jammed, and Lewis, the corpse, starts approaching them. Frightened, Tommy strikes it with an axe. When they exit the elevator to inspect, they learn that Tommy has killed Emma, who had returned to meet Austin. Sheesh. Austin becomes even more resolute about getting to the bottom of all this, and heads to the lab to figure out why Jane was tortured. They cut into Jane's skull and examine a sample of her brain. Lo and behold, they learn that Jane's brain tissue cells are still active, proving that Jane is still alive. Puzzled and seeking answers, Austin re-examines the cloth. He notices that it mentions Leviticus 20:27. In the year 1693, the Bible verse reads, "Any man or woman who consults the spirit of the dead shall be put to death, for they are a witch." It finally dawns on them that Jane is from 1693, New England. She was put to death during the 17th century Salem witch trials. Since the Salem witch hunters were not able to kill Jane through the rituals, Tommy speculates that Jane wasn't a witch. But after going through the torture rituals, she transformed into one and now seeks revenge. Realizing that Jane won't stop until she kills them, Tommy willingly offers himself as a sacrifice in exchange for his son's life. Jane accepts the offering and makes Tommy undergo every torture ritual she went through, while simultaneously healing herself. Austin rushes to his father's side and helplessly watches as he screams in agony. Reluctantly, Austin stabs his father with a knife to put him out of misery. He then hears the sheriff's voice coming from outside and rushes to the door, but only to realize that the voice is another hallucination. Dejected, when Austin turns around, he gets spooked by a vision of Tommy and trips over the railing, falling to his death. The police arrive the next morning and are confused by yet another crime scene. They only find 2 dead bodies in the facility, one of Tommy and the other of Austin. This means that Emma never came to the morgue. She was just a hallucination created by Jane. Moreover, Tommy's wrists and ankles are intact, which means that Jane tricked Austin into killing his father with the knife. Jane Doe is then transferred to a local university. On its way there, the ambulance radio starts playing, "Open up your heart and let the sun shine in," and Jane's toe twitches. Uh-oh. See why I warned you not to eat? Hope you enjoyed our summary. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment, and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos weekly. Thanks.